This now a special edition of the program, now an extension of the SLD side. So post-elections, they talk to the appointees them way President Bio don't get for way the people that we appoint for different ministries, departments and agencies. So they talk to them, make them communicate within and then plans them. So we the citizens can able for assess them based on the plans we then communicate to the public. But before we go to the next guest, Vice President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Mohamed Julius Jallo, don't talk to ministers, deputy ministers and permanent secretaries them for make them improve on the human relations where it being talk say important for the service delivery and the government in big 5 changes them. It been point out say poor human relation between the minister and the deputy there and the permanent secretary there. Now part of the challenge that will be identified during the first term. They talk to them on the second day of the public service system orientation for minister them, deputy minister them, permanent secretary them, and other professional them way for head different institutions them. Then being get this event now Bintumani Hotel na Freetown. But now moreover be attend and it been put this story together.
Second day of the public service system orientation for ministers, deputy ministers and permanent secretaries that seeks to enhance understanding on public service structure with the aim of enhancing service delivery. In his address, Vice President of the Republic of Sierra Leone identified poor human relation as a major challenge hindering service delivery among ministers, deputy ministers and professional heads in the past.
Competence gives you a job. What keeps you in the job is social intelligence. What does that mean? It means it is your deep-rooted understanding of the social relationships and dynamics in your particular society. If you don't have that, you'll never succeed. And social intelligence comes over time. You can be the best scientist, you can be the best marine biologist, and you are appointed Minister of Marine Resources. But if you don't have social intelligence to manage people and be able to respect them and be able to motivate them to deliver, you don't have the intended outcome. And this is what links up to the kind of authority I'm talking about. The social quality of authority. That is the human face, which is not the juridical face. So we hope in these last 5 years, the next 5 years coming, we will not see ministers moving around with acts of parliament that defines their relationship between them and their parastatal. Because what you need goes beyond what is in the act. It's how you manage.
While underscoring some of these challenges, Vice President also cited collaboration between the Minister and Deputy Minister of Energy as an example to other ministers and deputy ministers to learn from. Responding to this recognition, Minister of Energy speaks on secrets behind such applause.
I said 2 things that will make working easy. Is 1, the interpersonal, the human relationship, how you work with people, and then the commitment to delivery. If you are committed and you respect the rules and regulations that government has put in place, you respect those rules and regulations, and then you work closely with the people that you're working with. That is what makes life easy. And I wasn't surprised that the Vice Presidency mentioned my ministry as the very first example of a ministry in which there was great collaboration over the past 5 years between myself as minister and my deputy.
But how does the Chief Minister intend to solidify collaboration among political and professional heads to enhance service delivery on government's Big 5 changes?
Delivery requires collaboration and coordination and ensuring that we are all in sync with what needs to happen. We saw that it's not just ministers and deputy ministers, but within ministries, components around how permanent secretaries relate with ministers. If ministers, deputies, permanent secretaries and their heads, their DGs, don't have a good working relationship, nothing can happen. So underlying the Big 5 is a good working relationship that's based on understanding what the laws say, understanding just what the processes are, and what we need to do to support each other.
This 2-day public service system orientation seeks to prepare these new ministers and deputies to perform in their new roles while reminding the old ones on expectation for effective service delivery. Ronald Jomorovia, AYV News, Freetown.
Plenty thank you to Ronald Jomorovia. Well, away from that, the Minister of Information and Civic Education, Chegnoba, don't confirm Sierra Leonean intention then for send a troop to Niger following the Ecowas communique with President Julius Maada signed for the activation and deployment of Ecowas standby force in Niger. This story na Mohamed Lamin Baniadouam and Elizabeth Momo read in the studio.
An active member, in fact, His Excellency the President participates in the last ECOWAS meeting and fully endorse the content of that communique.
Minister of Information and Civic Education, Chegnoba there, describing Sierra Leone as an active member of ECOWAS and as well confirming President Bio's endorsement of standby troop in Niger. Sierra Leone's move to send its troops to Niger is in line with ECOWAS communique President Bio and some other heads of state agreed to in a closed-door extraordinary summit last week in Abuja, Nigeria, after Niger's president, Mohamed Bazoum, was ousted together with his family by military in a coup last month. Minister of Information and Civic Education, Chegnoba, disclosed that Sierra Leone's intention to send troops to Niger is as a result of the history and the benefit it has enjoyed from ECOWAS.
Salondo gets a standing commitment for always contribute, for making new contribution, including with respect to troops and otherwise, to ECOWAS, because ECOWAS belongs as a conclusion, so they will get a standing force. Salondo always make a commitment that whenever that is required, Sierra Leone will mobilize with troops and equipment and for contributes as now with duty as a member of ECOWAS.
Sierra Leone shares its border with fellow Mano River Union country, Guinea, who also has a military government and had earlier this August expressed solidarity to Niger and cautioned ECOWAS against military intervention in the country. However, with the move by Sierra Leone to send its troops to Niger for the restoration of constitutional order and Guinea's solidarity with Niger, what dividend can this bring to the relationship between both countries?
Salone continue to enjoy excellent relationship with the country that we're in the sub-region. When I see recently the police and the military chief there, they mention how we do cross-border security. Any problem may happen, people who have caused problem here, we work with people in Guinea and Liberia, we make that relationship is sacrosanct. That relationship we continue to enjoy. We are very comfortable with the relationship with the partners them, with the border we get the Mano River Union with an effective relationship we continue to grow.
Elizabeth Momo, AYV News, Freetown.
All right, welcome back and thank you for what you do with Food and Stories today. So we don't get to other guests with me at the studio, the press secretary in the person of Solomon Jamiu. Good morning and plenty thank you for joining me.
Good morning.
Congratulations on your new role as the press secretary. So now you and the president now all day, every day, from you building to now State House. Congratulations. How you interpret your appointments? How does it make you feel?
I'm grateful to God and I'm grateful to President Bio for the trust. The fact that it bring me come near they show trust. And I'm grateful to the many people, families, friends, colleagues who helped me throughout this journey to Usai Ade. And me pledge to His Excellency the President and to the people of Salone that the fact that I will continue for do my best always and for make sure say also as my office they require for maintain very good, cordial and productive relationship with the media and also for anchor the press and public relations for His Excellency the President. So I accept the responsibility, I accept the challenge, but the same way so encouraged by the fact that I get many people who stand ready and willing and able to assist me for go through this journey.
President at some point last year been making himself available. He go different media institutions there across the country and grant interview. That was huge. It was the first time we get a sitting president making himself that available to local media. And during the time, they mentioned, say, a want for bring in presidency closer to the people. As in press secretary, how you get for make this become a reality, for bring the president closer to him people?
So that essentially na my role for make sure say the relationship would exist between the office of the president and the media continue, for make sure say the things where President Bio don't do together with the media, for reform laws, repeal laws, for example, like the seditious and defamatory law, the support with President the give huge one to sludge, the things that way President Bio don't start with the media society, we phenomenal and historic in Salon, we continue them, and for make sure say we bring together the presidency and the media and deepen that relationship. So indeed, first I want to assure the people in Salon and the media family, say President Bio always want to work closely with the media and he will continue to do so. He believes say accessing information is a right, and he believes say the people get a right for know what in the president they do and how he's acting for and on their behalf. And so as press secretary, it's a wonderful opportunity. Once I got started, the first thing what I do, now for do a few media courtesies, visit a few media houses. I'm not able to go Bokusai, but I believe say the few where I go, they symbolize my commitment for work closely with the media. There are a few things what we intend for do, again for prove to the people, the media and the people of Salon, say President Bio, we continue to work closely with the media. So for example, last Friday, based on one of the commitments I make, we don't start a State House specific press briefing. And I realize we get very good positive feedbacks from the media.
And that's new for Winaya.
Yes.
Because, you know, when you watch Hollywood movies, you see the White House then press briefing, but it was not a thing for Winaya alone. Waiting introduce that. Yeah.
So essentially, one, I know say the media has been hungry for that, and that also can be an important layer in addition to the many things what we do for bring president closer. We know say we do the annual cocktail, for example, where my friend, my brother, my predecessor, Keke Thomas Sandibi start. And so bringing in, introducing also the State House specific press briefing will also help for bring the press closer. And if you see the style in which we did it, my challenge to the team was we cannot maybe do it every day, but let's see if we could do it twice every month. And you get a lot of protocols where they surround Dande because that is State House. The setting is quite different from when I was in the ministry or in NACOVAC. Now there are a lot of things we'll get for jealously guard, and so the atmosphere has to be very predicted. So that's one thing we have done based on the commitment that we have made for bring the presidency closer to the media. We are also, one of the standard operating procedures will also develop, apart from the communication strategy, we will already don't fine tune. Now for look at media accreditation as well. I know say now we get maybe a couple of media houses we're fully represented and stationed who would always be present when President again program. So the key question is how do we maybe expand that a bit for accommodate a lot more? Given the security and other concerns and other protocols around State House, we will not expand it maybe to the expectation of the media. But I think say if we include a bit more and we come out and the media understands that given the context, we cannot expand beyond this, but also the one who might be accredited, we get some kind of an arrangement with them to share those materials and
so
platforms.
So it's the benchmark, what's the criteria we on a set for select the stations then where they get accreditation?
So we not take that decision in isolation. In the first place, we have not yet decided on who comes in, but it's something we have also discussed. It will also come out in the course of me court's visit with Sludge and the other media houses, even AYV when I was here. So we discussed it. I discussed them with the team, and we agreed in principle that this is something we have to work through. But unless we don't able to finalize the media accreditation process and protocol around them, we don't want to start it. So because anything we would do, we have to have something
because
that guides us.
It already begin, you know, raise an eyebrow for say, okay, so now that they can't find the one where they feel like say get for dance according to the tune of the president and the regime. Now then they get for put the note of people away critically minded, we go really ask them the right questions, put checks and balances in place. Again, saloon rights and all manner suspects.
I know. So the first thing, I think that was a very good feeling when we did the press briefing on Friday, because then we invited as many media houses as possible. So, so I want to assure the media that first, this is something that we'll do in collaboration with SLAG and make sure, say, whatever number in the media houses we agree on, fairly representative of the media family. We would have loved to have as many media houses as possible. But again, we therefore accept and recognize the fact that this is State House. And so the protocols around them, we therefore jealously guard them. But whatever decision we take, we'll make sure say, it fairly represents the media. And so even for somebody who may not have the opportunity to come, how do we make sure that there is a platform so you might even access online from the comfort of your offices? So accessing information, accessing myself personally, one of the first things I also did was to share my official email through the president of SLAG. I said, please send it wide so people get to know that this is my official email. And indeed, we continue for open lines of communication.
Look into most recent, the orientation on the public service systems we now have been to money. A key statement from Vice President Julius Maada, Vice President Julius Jalorata, now the area of working together, the humanitarian aspect of, you know, is say work with governance and not let politics not overshadow within the criteria of governance. So in that conference day, you think say the goal achieved at the end of the day for ensure them pull away politics from governance?
I believe say the workshop lay a foundation, but the building the relationships will be an ongoing process. So we get specific objectives for that workshop. And again, we commend the Office of President and Cabinet Secretary to put this together. So one of the specific objectives now for make the team where President Biodun put together in terms of the ministers, but also the administrative and professional heads where the ministers get for work with. One, we all able for understand within the nature of the public structures and systems who they work with and work in. Secondly, we were able to know what are the key priorities of government. Thirdly, we were able to know how the structures, the public service structures who they work with, how it fully align with President Bio in vision for boldly and transformatively change Salon, but also as a public service, how we forget better in delivering goods and services to the people. The final one we touch on, and this is very key, President Bio makes appointments. Those appointees walk into ministries, departments, and agencies, and they meet a permanent bureaucracy. We therefore work with them. If we not get a good relationship, no matter how ambitious your plans and visions are as a president or as a minister or as a deputy minister, if you don't meet the bureaucrats with the right mindset, with the attitude, with the skill, with the knowledge, for align with your political vision, it will not work. So the president has been very forthright and very clear that ministers are able to work in a very fine, cordial, and productive manner with permanent secretaries, with professional heads. But as I said, this is just something meant to stimulate. Even when we come in government in 2018, up to the 5 years, we'll be to get retreats on this, refreshers on this. So this lays the foundation, especially for the new ones coming in, but also it's a refresher for no say. It doesn't matter when you are appointed by President Bio, don't work in a silo, don't live in isolation. You have to work with the permanent bureaucracy. And we have been advised against prejudices and biases. Maybe I am a minister, I'm working out of post, I don't get a certain experience with the permanent secretary or the people away today. Then I say to the incoming, that man they not a better person. You know, that man they not like this government. Now, you have not been able to work with that person. If you not guard against them kind biases, at the very first contact with that person, it's a stone wall. So President Bio is saying to the ministers and also saying to the bureaucracy, we have to work together, be professional, work with integrity, and make we know say, now that we are holding positions of trust, we only business in government. Now for make sure say we deliver goods and services to the people that we need them. So we hope this is a foundation, but it is something that will continue.
You know, another Vice President talk on at the inter-party level where, you know, ministries then they operate. He made particular mention on MDs, agencies rather, for ensure, say, like for example, so the Ministry of Lands, at the end of the day, EPA go say no, not to give the land, but Ministry of Land on gear and Yana waterway, person not supposed for denial. So that collaboration when it comes to working together for the benefit of all at the end of the day. What thing will inject that spirit of good relationship? Really?
So first, the minister, the administrative and professional head, for first be resolute in their minds that I have to work with whoever it pleases His Excellency to appoint and consign to the ministry. So first, now you get to make that decision and make sure and understand that the overall objective, the overarching objective, now the national good. So it's a decision that has to be made. Secondly, the people then, whether it's ministries, it's ministers, or professional or administrative heads, then get a proper appreciation of the mandate we then get, the institution we then they use, and how maybe some of their mandates they overlap with other agencies, and then come together to discuss how they delineate their responsibilities. And again, when I just came into government in 2018, maybe in the first 6 months, first 1 year, or even the first 2 years, maybe I spent a lot of time murmuring over conflicts and how my mandate overlaps with another person. After 5 years, I have now learned to focus more on how my work complements your own work and how your role should complement me. So maybe the advice to we all now that yes, sometimes it will appear as if your mandate seems for overlap with another, but if we can just focus more on how we should complement one another, like members of a football team. Number 9, no, they say number 10, no, for campaign and number 9. As long as the objective now for make we score goals and deliver for the team. So this is not the message. And President Biodun talk and say, we're all coming from different backgrounds. You get different academic background. You get different goals. But now it's the national goal. So first, it's a personal decision. Secondly, it's a key institutional decision where every ministry and department and agency need for make, say, the areas where we identify as bottlenecks, how do we address them? So that in delivering goods and services, we do them in a way that it's fast and also seamless for we all. So it's something that would continue, and as I say, especially for the ones where they come new, I believe say this stimulatory, but in the coming days, weeks and months, I'm sure we'll continue to get better and stronger at it.
You make mention say this is not a platform for stimulate working together. However, again, we are humans, so we'll go for accepted there will be this in collaboration, people they not get for agree. At the end of the day, with the civil side, PS they also they come in, because now one of the questions and they were asked the minister we just left. You know, PS and they say you can't meet me now, you go left me now. Those mindsets again are still way for change. So it's not only about the ministers themselves, but again training on your character and your attitude to work. So apart from this, beyond this 2-day retreat, other means then they want to go ensure say want to collaborate with PS particularly.
So the permanent secretaries are very important in this whole arrangement, and I believe say one of the key things we also now take away from the sessions now mutual trust and respect, and really usai mutual trust and respect day. If me they come in as a minister, I decide for respect and trust the permanent secretary. The permanent secretary also decide for respect and trust the minister. When I see ourselves as people in one boat and one objective, that is one way to resolve the issues. Secondly, we get hierarchy. If you get institutional difficulties or difficulties around your interpersonal relationship with the minister or the permanent secretary, ministers, for example, we have a chief minister. The chief minister in primary role, now for make sure say, usai bottlenecks then day, he address them. Usai roadblocks then day, he clear them, so that we deliver better for the people of Salon. So some of those things for do now personal decision, Some, if you're not able to get results or mechanism for addressing anything in your institution, there are recourses. Public servants, civil servants, for example, they serve their bosses. For example, you get the chairman, the Public Service Commission, you get the secretary to cabinet and head of the civil service. So we all get recourses where in a respectful manner, also you get difficulties and you're still not able for handle them through your interpersonal relationship or in your institution. There are rules, there are hierarchies, there are recourses where you can go to for make sure certain things then they resolve. But really, I would say, with mutual respect and trust, and be transparent with the minister, and the minister also transparent with the permanent secretaries, I think a lot of their issues really not good. And if we listen to some of the testimonies we come from some permanent secretaries, then tell we say, because from the outset, then decide for trust and respect the minister and be transparent, whether it has to do with what comes in as by budgetary allocation and other activities of the ministry. We read the testimonies where they say they're not going to get problems with the ministers. So I think it's, as I say now, a decision where you get for take say, you know what, team, now that we are in the same team, in the same ministry, let there be mutual respect, let there be mutual trust, and I think say they go able for surmount a lot of them difficulties.
Quickly before Phoebe come in, Vice President also make mention of public servants, civil servants, where then get a key role in all of this. And again, he make mention, say at the end of the day, you know, once the situation where they can need for left their offices and go back right at the top for go make them complaints there. But at the same time, if you listen to a lot of people in the public, then go tell you, say, civil servants, their attitude to work, it's not actually good. So what's in that means again from then, because that is where we start, from the bottom to civil servants.
So first, again, this is my own personal experience. In all the ministries, in the ministries I have worked, Information and Foreign Affairs, and even in NACOVAC, when you are appointed as a leader, for me, one important hallmark of a leader is how you replicate your values in the people who support you to work. Any leader we're not able to replicate in values in those who follow you or the one when you subordinate, you are not a leader. Me think say leaders should be inspiring, should be able to motivate, and if you're able to bring the best out of your staff. So I think one key message to people who work, who head institutions, now don't see the people who work under you as slaves, and don't see them as deficits. The key question is, what have you been able to do to invest in them? What have you been able to do to love them, to care for them, to show that they are colleagues, and bring the best out of them? So that's the responsibility of the leader. And the ones who are subordinates as well, what do you do for support your leadership? You might have people who are working as civil servants. Sometimes they're not going to office till 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock. They might not even show up 3 times a week. But at the end of the month, they want for collect salaries. So me think that kind of reciprocity, you know, for enjoy them in the first place. So I think now some of the issues here, when President Bio said, we fought big priority as a government, now public service transformation. There were now some of the ills they want to think say the transformation for able for address. We have a permanent bureaucracy, it's fine. But let the permanent bureaucrats themselves understand that they are fully accountable. And the same way that ministers are subjected to performance evaluation, me thinks that the same way the permanent bureaucracy itself for be subjected to performance evaluation. Both the minister and the administrative and professional heads should be able to perform. We evaluate them through very predictable and systems. So I think if we hold both of them to the same level of transparency, accountability, and delivery process, it go fine for we. But if we continue to see the civil servant say, you meet me now, you go left me now, and things say it is only the ministers who should be accountable to governance and performance evaluation, I don't think we will get it. So I hope the public service transformation what they talk about will bring the best out of our people who will get meritocracy, civil servants themselves, the same way private sector, possibly waiting at the bank. No say if you not go work, you not report in a bank 7:30 or 8 a.m., but you not produce, you know, maybe they go dismiss them out of work. I think then things then that same private sector mentality we they think of as a government. But as I say, the workshop really is meant to bring all of us together So think the same way and understand that we all should deliver as one government with one voice and one productivity for the people of Salone. I think that that's what they try to achieve.
Now, in your work as press secretary for bring the president again closer to the people, in what ways you want for to do this? What platforms, channels you want for to use for to do this?
So first, we all fully recognize that the president gets a schedule of activities. But as much as President Bio will, it go accommodate the press. So he would be doing it from time to time, directly and personally. And because he has a press secretary, he go to do him through the office of the press secretary. But I understand, and again, this come out through several meetings with the press, they want to see how we can do more for bridge the whatever disconnect has existed. And by the way, I think President Bio has been very phenomenal. I mean, in terms of proving his commitment to media freedom, but also working closely with the press. So one of the things we, as I said, we don't start now the like twice monthly press briefing, but also we'll try to see how we schedule sometimes just interviews, sessions with the president as and when possible. The other thing we're also would be doing that on a quarterly basis, maybe arrange some at a very informal level. It could be some kind of a cocktail with editors, with radio station managers, and key people in the media. Because most times we may not achieve some of the things we want to achieve through very formal settings. So but as I said, these are things that we'll be planning from time to time.
The media is one. During the campaign term, President Biogo, some places where some of the residents and they say now the first thing that they then see sitting president visit them. The extent to which they make himself available to the people. And come on free tongue, come on at the big tongue then. You get some area then where for let even able to get access to news content is a challenge. In some of the areas then they waiting at your plans for like themselves. They're in tune with government and governance activities through the office of the press secretary, bringing the president closer to such people where not will get access for sometimes they listen radio or television. Such people then forget access to the presidency.
Yes. So again, we have to define maybe what that access is. It's usually not as easy as people would think. And I believe the presidency all over the world, as we know, itself gets own protocols around that. But Phoebe, the promise, the pledge I would want to make, the assurance I would want to give now that President Bio always has worked with the media and will continue to. And my office as well don't make that pledge day. So as much as we could, we will make sure say through different programs, through media access, for interviews, we will plan them. Recently, I don't know if during the swearing in, there was a key function where President Bio was just walking out of the hall. And AYV, your AYV news person just showed up. And just even without prior notice to His Excellency, he just granted it right there, you know, in the Hall of State House. So now that kind of person there who will always make himself available to the press. So as I say, we'll go based on his schedule, we'll go see how from time to time and based on emerging issues, but also a platform for explain what's in the happen in government, we'll go see how we plan some of them programs there.
Just before we read out some of the messages on the Facebook platform, let's talk about the elephant in the room. So President Bio in second term appointments, them kind of become very interesting. Some of the names that way people they expect forget, you know, very significant appointments and they not see some of their names then they, and some of the people they know the kind of appointments where they get, well, again, based on interpretation, some man they say they demote some man get promotion. What's in the president in thinking process during it and why some people they name them not even they na in appointment list this time around?
Phoebe, I wish I had the privilege of getting it from President Bio's lips, but I have not. But what I go say...
So we can give you assignments for consult with the president and much later communicate with the public? Because there are names where it's actually interesting, where even if we get topics where not relate to that, people come now in the comment section and they're posting names. The likes of Jacob Jusu Safa, the Lahai Lawrence Lima, people are asking questions, they don't see their name then at the list. Then they wonder, oh, we see a former information minister now. These are questions where keep coming up, and again, people want answers to those questions.
So I will not speak to why some people might have disengaged from cabinet, and also why some people are in, but I will speak to the principle. And I will say President Julius Maada first, as a matter of fact, the team we assemble is highly acclaimed locally and internationally, both within and out of government. I talk to people in the media, I talk to civil society, I talk to international partners, and I see how the commendation will come up from them, not just in terms of the diversity, a lot of young people, women, but also in terms of the richness. A lot of the materials within in the cabinet highly acclaimed, and I will hope and pray that this team will help President Bio for deliver. So essentially, what in President Bio they try for show to the people of Salone now that he is focused on delivery. And it talk now the 2 days workshop we will just don't talk about. Say we business now government now for deliver, because if we don't deliver, in a words, he said the people will delete us. So they take very seriously every time he takes an oath as head of state. He knows the solemnity of his responsibility. What he really they try for proof through this team, and a challenge to we all now that out of the millions of Sierra Leoneans, I have chosen you. And now you have an opportunity to prove that you can deliver, so that you don't betray my trust and you don't betray the trust of the people. On specific names, I'm not going to really want to talk about why this person is out and why this person is in, but I go say there is so much faith, not just by President Bio, but even the people of Salone and outside Sierra Leone in this team. And I think we all have an opportunity to deliver for the people in Salone.
There are some positions where presidents no announce it, and people are still confused. Now the announcements and done so in the areas where announcements are not being made yet. The current people in their offices, then are they still, legally, so to speak, still entitled for the perform their functions in that capacity without presidents not reappointed in their offices then they?
So if you look at ministers, for example, so the constitution, they advise that ministers go vacate their seats at the expiration of the term of the presidency. Now, or resignation, or the appointment is revoked by His Excellency the President. But the same constitution would advise further down that ministers shall not vacate their offices by reason of expiration of the term. So it's a bit, so then you go see why ministers go continue in office even at the end of the expiration. But the good thing is President Bio has resolved all of this now. So for anybody where, as you go suggest, Dana imposed, whether as a head of parastatal or something, law just take and say, it continues to please His Excellency the President for you to be imposed. When when it no longer pleases His Excellency, I'm sure the nation will be advised as to any decision that's taken. So that's all I would say with respect to that.
All right. We will read out some of the messages then for you on the social media platforms, on the Facebook, sorry. Fatoma Sambold say press secretary positions not only limited to mainstream media, but also with level of social media support. What are you doing to improve on social media platforms, especially with bloggers?
Martin Silla, they say, I'm not a blogger, but the president and the press secretary have to consider bloggers and invite them for orientation, as they also are part of the media landscape in Sierra Leone. And we final message from Balatola, we say, how can Mr. Minister make sure some of those news are communicated in our local language and try to introduce sign language for the deaf and dumb? You quick response to that?
I'll just respond to them. So the first one on the deaf and dumb. Where I did Nakovac, there was somebody I worked with closely who did do sign language. once I came in as press secretary, I personally reached out to that person. But now, what I don't try for do, now for make sure, now I work with the presidency, and there is a lot of things where you need to get right. So I try for see how, maybe with some kind of a support, we get some international validation on some of them things and what they do with respect to sign language and this. So once we start, we get it right. But it's something I've already discussed with a few people who I don't reach out to. We're already involved in sign language. Secondly, on bloggers, tomorrow I'm meeting with some of them. And then because I recognize the role of bloggers. But in the coming weeks, I will try for expand that scope and meet with, like what this person talk about, that orientation is very key, and it's not so much about what we do directly with the presidency, but it's also talking about the good image of Sierra Leone. How through the blogging that we do, we promote the good image of Sierra Leone. We promote investment, we promote peace and democracy and security. What are some of the things that maybe if we do them, we undermine our security, our peace, our democracy? So meeting with bloggers, I consider them to be very key and very pivotal. Tomorrow I'm meeting with some of them, but we're coming up with a wider and comprehensive program for bloggers generally, and I'm sure they will get to know about that.
All right. As we wrap up the program now, it's going to be final word of assurance to the public about efforts for bringing the presidency closer to the people.
So I want to assure the media family, but also for assure the wider citizenry that President Bio operates and runs an open government. As somebody who day in for open governance, as a matter of fact, he has been pushing, importantly, for Lewe on e-cabinet, and I see e-parliament also, they go on very well. Maybe very soon we'll be talking about e-judiciary. He believes in having an open government. He believes in transparency. He believes in accountability. And he believes that the media, they play an important role for peace, for development, and that relationship, they will continue. And so, as press secretary, I don't say and I think I don't begin for matching words with actions. And together with the media, we will continue to come up with suggestions and recommendations how to make this work. So I will give that assurance that through AYV to the media family that we will continue to work together. And at the end of the day, we all will promote the good image of Sierra Leone and give the presidency as much visibility so the people get to know what their president is doing.
Thank you very much, Solomon Jamiu, for your time for talk to the press secretary, newly appointed press secretary. And I don't communicate with me this morning on in plans them in work in new position.